Welcome. In this video, what we will do is we'll try to analyze a meme about JavaScript. So what we see very often is a lot of different memes that people are actually making fun of JavaScript because it's a stupid language and makes stupid things. So what I will do is I will discuss one of them in this video, and we'll try to figure it out what's actually going on and why it is happening. So you can see here a meme. Maybe you saw that before or not. If not, so basically we have a series of kind of conditions that we check. So the first condition here, what we have is we have 0 number is equal to a 0 string, and it's true. Then we compare a 0 number with an empty array, and then it's true as well. So if a 0 number and 0 string is equal and 0 number and empty string is equal as well, that means that this string 0 and this array will be true as well. But it's not true, it's false. So why this is happening? So first thing first, let's see if what is actually in this mem is true. So let's make it 0, it's 0, and it's true. Okay, so the first statement was good. So we have 0 as a number and 0 as a string, it's true. So why this is actually happening? This is happening because JavaScript is not strongly typed language. What does it mean? That means we have types in JavaScript as in any language, but we can actually decide on the types on the go. So what I mean by that is I can in JavaScript say a is equal to 1. So this is a number. If I would do type of a to check what is the type, and I can say the a variable, its type of number. Okay, so that's fine. We can actually check that. But what I can do is actually I can say it's 1. So if I will do the same thing here, so if I will assign a string value to my variable and then check type of a, it will be a string. So that means we can assign a different values to our variable and they change the type of it. So in many languages, you need to specify what kind of type that variable will be. In JavaScript, it's dynamically typed. That means we can assign it on the go. So what we also have in JavaScript, like we see here, is normally you should never do anything like that. It's like telling a language that, oh, I have 2 apples and I have 2 pears. Could you please compare them if they are the same? So first thing first, this is wrong at the first place. And I will go back to that at the end of this video, but you should never do anything like that because it's just wrong. So what JavaScript is trying to do is trying to figure it out. Okay, we have some values here and some values here. They're not the same type because this is the number, this is a string. So if I need to compare them, I need to do something. In most of the languages, you will have an error, but JavaScript is trying to be smart. I don't know if that's good or not, but it's trying to figure it out how to actually make a comparison. So if this is a number, it will try to convert this to a number. So if that will be converted to a number, it will be 0 equal to 0, and then this will work. So if you will have something like that, and this is something that you should actually use, you can see this double equal sign. It will compare the values, but they will need to be converted, coerced into to the same type. This is not the same type as this one, so they need to be forced to use the same type. That's why JavaScript is trying to help us doing stupid things, and you should never do that. You should use triple equal sign always as a default and never go back to this one. So this meme is like kind of not logical as well, because the modern JavaScript should never use the 2 equal signs because it might end up in a situation like this. Okay, so we know why this actually evaluates the true, because converting this to numbers or this string to number, it will actually and make it 0 as a number, and it will be true. So 0 is 0, so it's fine. So the first thing is it's fine. JavaScript is trying to help us out, converting this to a number, and converting string 0 to a number will be 0, and then it's fine. So the next row here, it's a 0 equal to empty array. So if I will do this, so it is 0 empty array, it's actually true. So why this is happening? So if I will go type of empty array, I can see that it's an object. So in JavaScript, this is an object, but JavaScript knows this is a number. And we are trying to compare a number with something, with an object. So what JavaScript is trying to do for us is trying to change that into number, to primitive. So primitive values are the values of the simple type in JavaScript. So all programming languages have primitive values. And so it will be number, string, and so on. So object, it's a complex value. It's not a simple primitive number, primitive type. So it's trying to convert a complex type into something simple, into primitive. So how can he does that? So basically the empty array is 0. So that's what the assumption of the language is. If we don't have anything there, it's 0. I could also set that 0 is equal to 0. So this is true as well, because what I have here, it's a 0. So if that will be trying to being converted into primitive, to a simple number, it will be 0. But if I will do 1, for example, this array with a value of 1 will be converted to number as a 1. So JavaScript is trying to make an extra step for us to make it actually converting to a number. And if we have empty array, the best assumption the language can do is, okay, if it's an empty array, it will be 0. So we have another one here and here. So both of them are true because this JavaScript is trying to help us developers doing stupid things. Okay, and the last one. So why we don't have the situation like here? So if that's a true and that's a true, so that's supposed to be true as well. Well, it's not. And the reason is, if we do something like that, so we have a string on the left-hand side, and we try to compare it with an array, empty array. So this time, we actually trying to compare the string, which is not the 0 as a number, but this is a string, and this is as an object. So you can't really do the same thing as we have done it in the first two cases, as this was number. So there is no way we can actually convert a complex object into a string of 0. So hence this is false. So if that's a true and that's a true, it doesn't mean that this value and this value will be true, because JavaScript is trying to help us on the go and make an assumption or make a comparison, coercing them into a one common type. And in that case, it will try to convert that into string. And if that will be converted to string in the background, it wouldn't be a 0 for sure. It will be at least empty string. And this is a string of 0. So that's why this is false. So even if that mem is kind of funny, it's good to know why JavaScript is acting this way. So if you know the language, it is better for us it's easier for us to use. And that's the conclusion at the very end, actually. So if we have something like this is, as I said, stupid at the first place. You as a JavaScript developer, you should never use two equal signs. This should be deprecated from the language, and it's something that we should not use anymore. So the reason why I'm doing that, because you might have a situation like this. You will give a JavaScript language opportunity to decide it for you how to convert the values if something is coming back. So always use the triple sign. So you will, for all of them, you will have false, because this 0 is not equal 0. 0 string is not the same as 0. 0 is not the same as the empty array. And also you can use this one here, and that will be false. So always use the triple equal sign, because that will be something that will for sure check not only the values, but also types. So if 0 is 0, like here, then it will be true. But if 0 is string of 0, it's false. And that's how it's supposed to be. And that's how it is in most of the languages. So if we make a fun of the JavaScript, That's for a good reason, because it sounds ridiculous, but it's good to understand why it's happening. So you, as a JavaScript developer, you are responsible to write a correct code and not something stupid like this. Thank you.